Hey guys, so today's video is going to be all about highlighting and contouring. Everything that you need to know for like a super flawless base complexion. I think I covered everything in this video. Please know that this is not necessary for every single time that you do your makeup or on your daily basis. This is just something extra, and it's always nice to learn different techniques and whatnot. Everything I know is by trial and error, and I have been practicing and practicing and practicing, so I felt comfortable now to be able to do a video because I feel like I know what I'm talking about. There's no point of me coming here and be like, hey guys, do this, and then deep inside I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I feel like I got very comfortable with this, and now I am able to share what works for me and what doesn't. I didn't film the eye portion of this makeup look because I thought it was very similar to my Taylor Swift video. As always, everything that I use and all the brushes and products, everything will be linked and listed down below for you guys. Very, very easy. I want to make your life easier, so I take a lot of time to, write my description, but I just want to make everything easier for you guys. So I'm not going to ramble anymore. If you're new, please don't forget to subscribe. And now if you want to see how to highlight and contour, then just keep watching. So for me, I like to really spend a lot of time on my complexion. It's just, I feel like if I have beautiful, flawless skin and my complexion and have like a really good base, I feel like everything else kind of falls into place when it comes to like a full-on face of makeup. So when I'm contouring, highlighting, or anytime that I'm doing my complexion, I like to really take my time and do my skincare, and then I wait about 20 minutes or so, and then I put my makeup on, because otherwise it's just gonna slip and slide, and that's not a good thing. So to prep my skin, since I have very, very dry skin, I like to use, hydrating primers. So for today, I'm going to start by spritzing my face with some MAC Fix Plus. And this is like a glycerin-based spray. So basically, it's just going to put a lot of moisture onto your skin and make everything that you put on top stick to it. Once my skin absorbed all of that MAC Fix Plus, I'm gonna move on to primers. And I say primers because I like to give, I have different spots of my face have different needs. So I like to put my Benefit Porefessional on my T-zone and where my pores are larger, because this is a pore filler kind of primer, and it will give you that like smooth surface. So I like to put this on my T-zone and right around here where my pores are bigger. And a little bit goes a long way. It's nice that you push onto your skin, because that's what's gonna make your pores fill it up with this, and then the skin will be, the surface will be very smooth. So I just kind of dab on those areas. Even like on top of like zits, if I have a little blemish, I will put this on top, because then it makes, it helps the surface be very much more smoother. And then for the rest of my face, I'm gonna go in with my e.l.f. 3-in-1 primer. And again, I only took a very little bit, and then I'm just going to place this on the other areas of my face to keep everything very hydrated. So now that we're all primed, we can move on to, the complexion part. And this is where you would start if you do any kind of color correcting. This is where the color correcting would come first. So if you need a little bit of under eye, or if you have any red spots or anything like that, do your color correcting before you apply your concealer, your foundation, anything. That is the first layer of creams that will go onto your skin. So I'm not going to color correct. I'm just going to move on straight to my foundation. And today I'm going to be using my favorite, my e.l.f. Flawless Finish Foundation, and mine is in the shade Porcelain. I also think it's important to say that if I'm doing cream contour and things like that, it's always important to keep in mind that use a very thin layer of everything. So like, don't take on a bunch of foundation, because then it's going to be so much more that you're gonna add on top of that. So do a very, you know, sheer application, and then if you have to add more, you add more. So I think that's very important for like a very flawless, you know, complexion. All right, so my foundation is completely done. So when it comes to cream contouring, I prefer to contour before I highlight. I know that people, you know, you often see videos that people just like do the whole highlighting first, and then they do the contour, and then they kind of blend it all together. I personally feel like for me, it works best if I do my contour first, blend everything out, and then I move on to my highlighting. One, because if I make any mistakes on my contour, if I go too crazy with my cream contour, I can always blend it out with something lighter on top, as opposed to just like get stuck with that, you know, darker shadows everywhere. And also, I don't like to just lay it all out on my face, because I don't like to have, you know, the product sitting there for too long. I like to take my time and blend everything nicely. So I don't like to just put everything on top of my face and just, you know, let it sit there and just kind of dry out, or, you know, like, that's the reason why I go little by little, step by step. So you guys have seen me use the Anastasia palette many times, and I really like the contouring shades on that palette, which this is what I'm going to be using today. I also like, I don't have it right in front of me, but I also like the Tarte is the contour stick. It's in Park Avenue Princess. That's the shade that I like, and I really like that formula as well. And also, it's very important that you stick with cool tones. Not too like gray or anything like that, but like a cool tone brown. It's what's gonna give you the best contouring. So let's look at this palette for a minute. This shade right here in the middle is the one I always use for my contour, because it's the most cool tone out of all of these. This one right here, it's too dark for me, and it's much warmer than the one in the middle. So this would be almost like a bronzer. A lot of people contour with bronzers, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have bronzers that work wonders as a contour. Like my Hoola bronzer works great. I like the theBalm Bahama Mama works great, because they are not too orange, and they're not too they're not gonna make you look orange all around. You know, bronzers are meant to like warm up your complexion and just kind of like go over your contour, you know what I mean? Like, the contour is supposed to mimic the shades, like the natural shades of your face. So stick with cool tones. That's very important. So if you purchase, you can purchase a concealer that is a few shades darker than your complexion, and as long as it's a cool tone and not such a thick full coverage formula, you would be good to go. So just keep that in mind. Like, you don't have to go out there and buy a whole palette. Especially if you're trying to get into it and you don't want to go and spend your whole money, and then it doesn't work for you, or you end up not liking it, then you're stuck with a palette that you're not gonna use. So that is my best tip for you. I like to make this face. You see, like, as soon as you make this face, you already kind of know. You see that right there? That's where your contour goes. You know, a lot of people do the little trick of going above the ear, following this part right here, and that's basically what it is. Right there. So that's where you're going to place the contour. There. And I stop about right here, before my smile lines. That's where I stop, because the further down you go, the more that's going to like bring down your face. So keep it higher. So I like to go right here, do a few dots right there. So now when it comes to nose contouring, this is very personal. You have to really take a look at your face. So for me, what I like to do for my nose, I like to just, the very tip, I like to make a little bit thinner right here. And don't go on the side because that's gonna make your nose look wider. Follow the very tip, the very top of the bridge of your nose. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm gonna place this right up here. See that? And then when I get to the tip of my nose, I just like to go and make it a little thinner right here. Like that. And then if you have thinner lips, you can also go right under and create a shadow underneath your lips. So it's going to, you know, give it an illusion that it's a little plump, like a little bit more plump. So I just, with whatever is left, I just go right here. Right there. And then if let's say your nostrils are a little bit wider and you want to make them, you know, appear smaller, you're going to place the same contour right on the sides, right on that little curve of your nose. So with whatever is left here, just go right there. And that's that. So for blending, you can use a brush or you can use a sponge. I like to use a sponge, and I'm gonna stick with my e.l.f. little precision sponge, and you just wanna make sure that you blend it upwards. So when I'm doing blending motion, the motion that I'm gonna do is like this, up, as opposed to down here. I'm going to basically roll my sponge in an upwards motion until it's all nice and blended. And here on the forehead, the same thing. I blend it towards my hair as opposed to blend it down this way. So really, like, I pretty much am touching my hair, as you can see. So that's where I'm going to blend that. So that gives a very natural shadow. Now I'm gonna blend out the nose, and for me the nose is the scariest part ever because I just, you know, nobody wants to have a muddy nose. So I like to pinch the sponge and just go take my time. And the same thing, I don't move the product too much. I just want to blend this. So you don't want to drag it too much this way or too much that way. You kind of want to stay in the same place, but obviously get rid of the lines. But just always remember, if you go too ham doing it this way, at least for me, I can always, you know, take it out a little bit more before I have too much highlight, and then I have to like add on more concealer to clean up my mistakes. You know what I mean? So to me is what makes more sense, is do my contour first and then do my highlight. And with that, I can, you know, clean up a little bit of if it's too much. You see how the nose is looking a little messy? And that's exactly my point. I'd rather do this before my highlight and not mix and match them all together, because I feel like then if I do it this way, I know exactly where I need to clean up. Now that's it, the contour is done. So now we're gonna move on to highlighting. And basically, you are gonna want to highlight the center of your face. So like I said, if you have a chin that you don't necessarily want to bring it forward even more, then don't put highlight on your chin. If you have a bigger, larger forehead, don't highlight your forehead, because that's exactly what's going to do. It's going to make everything bigger and bring it forward and bring more attention to it. So you have to be very mindful, and that's very personal. I can't tell you that, you know, you have to do it this way, everybody else out there, because we're all different. So just keep that in mind when, when you watch this video. Make sure that you study your face and, you understand the process of highlighting and contouring is basically you're going to hide and make everything narrow with the contour, and you're going to bring forward and more attention to everything that you highlight. So for highlighting, I normally use my concealer. I am a person who I haven't found a good cream contour palette that had a really good highlighting shade. I feel like they're all too bright or just don't give me enough coverage. So I like concealer. So I'm gonna use my e.l.f. HD concealer. So starting with the forehead, I just do a few little swipes right in the middle. And that's why, when I was doing my foundation that I mentioned, it's also nice to have thin layers of everything. Since you're doing so many steps, you don't want to load up in every single layer and then you're gonna end up with super duper cake face. So just keep that in mind as well. Then I go on the very bridge of my nose, right here, and my cupid's bow, and this area here on my chin. And then I like to blend this out before I even do my under eyes. And again, the reason why I don't do it my whole entire face is because I don't like product just sitting on my skin for too long. You see that? That is the magic right up here. You see how after I place the highlight, my concealer, my nose looks completely different already. Then I like to move on to my under eyes. And I'm going to place this very close to where we contour. So to clean up kind of those edges. So I'm gonna place this right here. And then ring it like I normally would under my eyes. And then I'm gonna switch to a smaller sponge just because the other one is way too dirty. And I'm gonna blend this out. So now that everything is contoured and highlighted and blended and ready to go, we can set the face. And today I'm going to be using my RCMA No Color Powder. This is a really, really good powder. It's very finely milled, so it really helps just make your skin just flawless because it's very, 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 very thin. I'm going to set this with a damp sponge. This is not super wet, it's just damp. And I'm going to put a little bit on the cap, and I'm going to dunk this, and as I look up, I'm going to set my under eyes. I'm going to take the smaller sponge and put a little bit, another layer of the setting powder right on this area right here, because that's gonna make the nose even thinner. It's gonna help out with that contour that we placed. So then I'm gonna take the very, very point of this sponge and I'm going to set this on the bridge of my nose. And then I'm gonna set my chin and my forehead. So then what I like to do to set my face and dust this off, I like to get a fluffy brush like this. This is a Morphe E3. And I have been using this non-stop since I first tried it. The Hello Flawless. This is a powder foundation by Benefit Cosmetics. It's amazing. It literally makes your skin flawless. So I just like to put a little bit on my brush and then I just buff this out and dust all of this powder off. And then for my under eyes, I'm gonna switch brushes, and this is the BH Cosmetics 126. And I'm gonna also dip onto that powder and dust my under eyes. So now to set my contour, I'm gonna be using my Too Faced Chocolate Soleil bronzer, and I love this. It smells so good. And this is a very cool tone bronzer. This is what I was telling you about before. You can set your contour with a bronzer as long as it's a very cool tone bronzer. So I absolutely love this. Like I said, I love the Hoola bronzer, is amazing. The theBalm Bahama Mama is great as well. I love, for a very affordable option, I love the e.l.f. Cosmetics contour palette. Awesome. So I'm gonna take an angle brush like this, and I'm just going to go over all the contoured areas. So now I'm gonna do a little bit of blush, and today I'm gonna be using the Benefit Cosmetics Hervana. This is such a cute little blush. It has like all like different colors. I love it. I'm gonna go back with that bronzer, and I'm going to define my nose even more. And I normally use this brush right here. I don't even know where I got this, but it's just like an angled brush. I just go right over here and blend very softly. I barely dip my brush into that. And then I just go back and forth very softly, and I go all the way up here where my brow starts. And then I like to go back with a sponge and just go over without adding anything else, just to like soften up those lines. And then this is where you can go and do your actual highlight on your cheekbones and whatnot. So I like to always apply a base when I really want my highlight to be super poppin'. I like to, my favorite, it's the ColourPop in Wisp. It's just because it looks so good on everybody. But this is where I'm going to apply this, right here on the very, very tops of my cheekbones. So I just go and blend it with my finger. And the way you figure it out where to place your highlight is you can feel your bone right here. So that's where your highlighter should go. So now this is obviously not necessary, but I like to go over with a, powder highlighter. So I'm gonna use my Manizer Sisters, and I'm gonna stick with Mary-Lou Manizer, which is gorgeous. It's one of my favorite highlighters of all time. And this combo is one of my favorite combos like ever. If you really want your highlighter to pop, that's what you do. So I just go on my, this is a Morphe M501. I just go over and blend it kind of in like a circle motion like this. So I just go back and forth and set that cream highlighter. Then I'm gonna take this little brush right here, which I have been loving. This is the Sigma E04. I'm going to take a little bit on this brush, and then I'm going to concentrate this on the very bridge of my nose. You see that? And then you can even take a little bit more and apply on the very tip of your nose. And also on your Cupid's bow. And then to finish the complexion completely, I always like to set my face with a setting spray. And in my case, since I have dry skin, I like to use MAC Fix Plus, but you can use whatever you have. And if you have like a more oilier complexion, you can use a mattifying setting spray. But What a setting spray is going to do is it's not only going to set your makeup, but also it's going to help with all the powders and everything that you have on your skin, just to kind of, it's going to make you look less powdery and more natural. So quickly, a little spritz of this. Alright guys, so that's it for this video, and thank you so much for requesting this. I've been meaning to film this for a little while now, and I'm so glad I had the chance to it. I hope that this was helpful and that you guys learned anything, you know, like tips and tricks that I have learned along the way. Everything I do is by trial and error. You know, like I am self-taught, so some days, you know, I achieve what I am looking for, and some days not so much, and then I just try again. So don't be discouraged, don't be intimidated, it's just makeup. If you absolutely hate it, you can just wash it off and try again. So please feel free to leave me any more comments with any suggestions or requests or any questions that you guys may have. I always love to hear what you guys have to say. And as always, if you like this video, if you found it helpful, and if you learned something new, please give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends, because it really, really helps my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.